I thought I'd finally found the one at a bar in Soho, but 5 words of pillow talk turned the best night of my life into a biological nightmare I can never take back. I'm not the type of guy who does one-night stands, but when I met Elena, it felt like a glitch in the universe. We met at a crowded rooftop bar, and the connection was instant, almost scary. We had the same dry sense of humor, the same weird obsession with obscure 70s cinema, and even the same restless energy. It was like looking in a mirror, but in the most attractive way possible. The chemistry wasn't just physical, it was magnetic. We spent 4 hours talking before we even considered leaving. By the time we got back to her place, I felt like I'd known her for an entire lifetime. Everything felt right. The way she laughed, the way she understood my sentences before I finished them, it was effortless. Afterward, the room was quiet, just the city lights filtered through the blinds. We were in that hazy, post-session glow, where you share things you don't tell anyone else. We started talking about our childhoods. I told her about how I grew up with a single mom in Chicago, and how my dad was a traveling consultant, who was barely ever home until he passed away 5 years ago. Elena sat up, brushing her hair back. "That's crazy," she whispered. "My dad was a consultant too. He was always in Chicago for business trips. He actually had a second apartment there." I felt a small prickle of unease at the back of my neck. "Small world," I said, trying to laugh it off. "What was his name? Maybe they worked at the same firm." "David," she said. "David Miller." The air left my lungs. My father's name was David Miller. But David Miller is a common name. I told myself to breathe. "My dad went by Dave," I said, my voice sounding thin. He had a distinctive tattoo on his left wrist. A small compass rose. Elena went dead silent. She reached for her phone on the nightstand, her hands trembling. She pulled up a digital photo album and swiped to an old picture of a man holding her as a baby. I stared at the screen. It was him. The same crooked smile, the same receding hairline, and the unmistakable compass rose on his wrist. But in her photo, he looked happy. In my photos at home, he always looked tired. "He told us he was in London for those 3 months every year," she whispered, her eyes filling with tears. "He told us he was in Seattle," I replied. The realization hit us both like a physical blow. Our father hadn't just been a consultant. He was a ghost who had built 2 entirely separate lives, 300 miles apart. He had 2 houses, 2 Christmas mornings, and 2 children who had just crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. The room that had felt so warm minutes ago now felt like a tomb. We didn't scream. We didn't even move. We just sat there in the dark, 2 strangers who were suddenly horrifyingly family. Elena looked at me, her face pale. "What do we do now?" I stood up and started getting dressed in the dark, my stomach turning over itself. I looked at the framed photo of our father on her dresser, the man who had successfully hidden us from each other for 25 years. "There's nothing to do, Elena," I said, reaching for the door. "Dad spent his whole life making sure we never met. I think I finally understand why." I walked out and didn't look back. I had spent my whole life wondering who my father really was. I just wish I hadn't found out by sleeping with his daughter.